to talk about Charlotte FC, your soccer journeys, all that stuff. There's another season rolling right on along.
Yep.
And I remember when you first joined Charlotte FC, you were the fresh face, the new kid, the local guy who's come back home to slay all the dragons on the pitch. Thing. And here we are now, 3 years later. You know, Not to say that you're the old dude, but you're the experienced dude now. Do you
Yeah.
look at it that way?
Yeah, for me, I look at it in that way. I think there's some that still consider look at me and think, "Oh, he's a young guy," but like for me, I feel like just with my age and just the big thing about the experience part, I feel like I can come into this team. I feel like the last couple of years now, I can come to this team and kind of be one of the veterans with the team because I have the experience in the league. So, I kind of want to be, that kind of veteran guy for, those guys in their first or second year and guys that are younger and stuff like that. So I kind of want to be in that role and I kind of want to take responsibility of that role to kind of be like, hey, I'm here if you need anything. I know the league very well. If you need help with anything around, the club or just other things as well, like I'm here for you. So that's the kind of role that I kind of want to take on. And obviously I'm with my age, I am young, but I feel like I do have a lot of leadership skills that I can apply to other guys as well.
Because with this team, with the changes with the roster, you've got those older, more experienced people. Now you've got this influx of people who are even younger than you. I'm
Yeah.
talking teenagers now. You're right there in your mid 20s or
Mhm.
so. And it's like, well, there are some dudes who've been here literally longer than I have. And then there are some who are like coming up and they're pups and they don't know exactly what they don't know just yet. Is that something that appeals to you? Like you said, to kind of share those experiences with those young people and then be able to tell those older guys, well, this is what happens in Charlotte, or this is what happens if you're new to MLS.
Yeah, so that's the good part about it. I kind of like on both sides. I'm kind of that middle guy. So, even the older guys. I mean, like you have some older guys that while they're very experienced, with their soccer careers and stuff like that, I can kind of give them kind of the experiences I've had of people in MLS or teams in MLS and what to kind of expect. While on the other side, I'm trying to help these kids or not kids. I should say because I'm a kid as well,
Yeah,
but
they're kids.
uh, but the guys that are probably younger than me or have less experience than me, I kind of want to help them, be that bridge to kind of help them, grow into, players that, I wish, at the time that, I want them to be better than me at that age, if that makes any sense. So like, I saw my first professional contract at 17 and like, for the likes of, let's say for example, like Jack Neely, Brian Romero, and Nim Fasha, like, those are guys I kind of like want to help because at that age, I mean, I think they're, better than I was. And so I kind of want to help them keep stacking, the pieces together, to eventually when they're my age, they're ready to go and they're flying. You know what I mean? So, those are kind of the things that it kind of balances out a little bit between both sides of, the older experienced guys and the younger guys as well. Like, I feel like I can have, share of, both puzzles and, kind of help each side.
You're embarking on your third season, obviously, with Charlotte FC. You've seen a lot of stuff
Yeah.
in the last 3 years. Three head coaches, some ups and downs, and of course, you hear the supporters or keen observers of soccer who have plenty of opinions, but they're not stepping out on that field. Talk a little bit about that experience and having to go through those bouts of change, and they've come fast and furious during your time here.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's actually a good thing to bring up because I tell people this all the time is like I came from obviously Sporting KC is my first club and all 4 years I had the same coach. And then obviously now I come to Charlotte and I've had three in 3 years. So it's like, honestly I'm blessed to be able to be in these kind of experiences because you learn so much just of adapting to different people and adapting to different coaches. Um, you learn a lot. You learn bits and pieces from each and every coach to kind of apply to your game a little bit. And obviously, I know it's been like kind of the up and downs, but I'm for me, I'm just super blessed that like it's just been how it is so far. Like, I've learned so much from leadership standpoint to tactics on the field to gaining relationships and languages and stuff. Like I've learned so much. As much as like it's been not obviously like the ideal pathway. It's just been it's been up and downs, but I've learned so much, and obviously for me, like I'm a big believer. I'm a Christian, big believer in Jesus Christ, and I feel like just having those ups and downs is necessary, especially in life, because I feel like if you're obviously on a plateau, then I feel like you never really learn anything. But now that you're going through these ups and downs, you have the victories, you have the low points, um, but at each stage you learn so much, and it's been a crazy ride, but I've learned a lot.
Yeah. And when you talk about what you've learned from your previous two seasons, what types of things did you get from those coaches that you can still say, you know what, I could use that even today?
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably say for first coach Miguel, um, I think he taught me a lot just about, being a professional. And, obviously I was a younger guy. I was probably 21, but my first year with Miguel. And I think he taught me a lot just about, being professional and the right things to do off the field and, like stuff like that. Cause previously before that came off a lot of injuries in my last year. And, I think I see that guidance as someone to kind of, keep me, level headed and say, hey, like you got to take care of yourself, like, off the field. And, whether that's, that could be from ranges of, getting the treatment on the treatment table and, keeping your body in shape and, diet. I needed someone to, got kind of guide me in that direction. I feel like he would guide me in that direction. And, for me, I feel like I'm really a good professional now because of him. And then, I think from Latantio, I've learned, just a lot about on the field tactics, because he was, a guy that wanted to try, a lot of things during the season. And he taught me just to learn about, adapting to situations because you never know when situation could be, called upon, and you got to be ready to adapt. And I think that's the biggest two things I've learned from both those coaches.
So now you're with Dean Smith,
Yeah.
not a basketball coach. And I know that gets a little old after a while, but
Heard that one before.
but in terms of this coach, and it seems as if, at least from hearing him speak, he wants to go up tempo. He wants to put pressure on folks. Is that something that you see there's benefits to that, and how it translates to the way that you prefer to play?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I always, for me as a player, I always, want my team to have the ball the most. So obviously when we lose it, it's just about that quick reaction to try to get it back and have the ball again. Because for me, I know as a defender, I want to defend at least as possible. So when I'm defending a lot, obviously that's my job, but I don't want to do a lot of it, So it makes my job easier when we're not defending so much. So it's been pretty good so far with Dean trying to, obviously teach us his ways of the game and stuff like that. So just kind of learning that quick repress to get the ball back and have the ball again has been crucial for this group so far.
Yeah, because if you don't have the ball, you really can't score.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, and then when you look at this, you've had some success during preseason with the friendlies and everything. Are you surprised that it's gone the way that it has, or no?
honestly, I'm not really surprised. I mean, to be fair, like we have a really, really, really good group of guys, and I think our locker room is really it's phenomenal. Probably one of the best I've had since my sporting days. But it's been great. Like we're all guys that we talk about things on the field and off the field, and I think we just all have this like really good connection with each other, and I think it translates onto the field when Dean's teaching us stuff. And I mean the fans have kind of seen our results so far in preseason, and that doesn't surprise me because obviously we've been together for a while throughout this preseason, and we've talked about things and discussed things. But we have a really good group of guys that are everyone's ready to learn, everyone's ready to lead in the right direction. So I'm not surprised because we have a good group of guys and we've gotten the results as we've shown. So I'm excited to see what the season comes for us.
The reason I asked that question is because when you bring in a new coach and you bring in as many new players as you have, there's usually a get acquainted period, and then the transition starts. It looks like this has been fairly seamless. So I asked that in terms of, you know, is that something that you can really hang your hat on once the season gets underway? And it's going to be guns are blazing in terms of it's what you saw in preseason is what's going to happen when the games actually count.
Yeah, I mean that's our goal. Our goal is to kind of translate what we got from preseason and what we've done and translate it into into the season. So, I mean, obviously every team's different. Obviously with my experience, I've seen teams, do really well in the preseason, and then when they get to the season, it's not so great. I've seen teams that don't do great preseason, and then they turn it up in the first couple of games of the season. So, I've seen both sides of it. I've experienced both sides of it. Um, but I think for me, there's something just a little bit different this year about just kind of our group. And like I said before, everyone's just kind of ready to learn. And like I said, like we have younger guys talking to, the older guys, just making sure things are clear. And I think that's the biggest part this year is that I don't think anything is left to be like confused about, if that makes any sense. So like everyone's kind of on the same page and we're flying and we're ready to go. So I'm hoping that just kind of translates to the season and I'm excited.
When you look at the season ahead, that's about ready to jump off. We're talking about what, 9 days away.
It's
Um,
crazy. It's crazy.
yeah, there is no off season anymore. It's always something going on.
Yeah.
But when you look at the state of soccer in not only in Charlotte but in North Carolina, I want to ask you about that because when you, let's say 10 years ago, when you were what, middle school, just barely into high school,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, where you could go back 10 years and you would say to your young Jaylin, well, younger Jaylin, this is going to be happening in Charlotte with Charlotte FC. There's going to be a top tier women's league team in Charlotte. There's going to be the NWSL is still around. It has a franchise in Raleigh. And then with the development clubs, one's kicking off in High Point this year, as well as the one that Charlotte FC has. Would you have believed that 10 years ago that there'd be so much professional soccer in North Carolina of all places?
Um, for me, yes. Obviously at the time when I was that young, obviously it didn't look promising, so that's why obviously I made the move to Kansas City. But and I tell people this all the time is when I was in KC and when I would come back for the summertime, kind of like our off season when we were the youth team. Obviously I would go to the games at Bank of America when they would have the International Cup, Champions Cup. The European teams would come over and play, and I mean the stadium would be filled with like 40 to 50,000, and like it was unbelievable to see because like you can really tell like how much like the city or even the state just supported soccer. And so that's when I kind of had the idea, okay, it's promising. And obviously when Charlotte FC, obviously became a team, that gave me even more hope. Thinking about one day I can come back and play for the club. And now that they're, like you said, they're building, a top tier women's team. And obviously you have Charlotte FC, you have the Charlotte FC Academy now, and UPSL team, and the Carolina Core, and NC Courage, NCFC. So you have all these teams now that you have the opportunity, especially in North Carolina. You have so many opportunities to play the game at a high level, and it's just so exciting to see. Because at my time, there really wasn't any. It was just a bunch of club teams, and now to see so many opportunities, it's amazing to see how these kids. There's so many opportunities to go pro, and there's different pathways, and everyone's path is different, but there's different paths now. It's just so exciting to see because there's many more options now, and I'm kind of excited to see that the future of North Carolina soccer.
Yeah, and when you talk about Carolina Core, I talked to a couple of folks that you may be familiar with. They're a little bit older than you, and Lassiter, you know, and I just got all kinds of feedback from them in terms of asking them that same question, and they're North Carolina folks too. When they came back, uh, Roy Lassiter and Eddie Pope, and they've had great success as professionals, both with the international play as well as in Major League Soccer, and that was pretty much the thing that they talked about as well. And it's just to them, you know, they would have never guessed it. In their 20 or 30 years ago selves, they would have never guessed it. So it does look like it's a generational thing where for you could sort of maybe get the idea
Yeah,
because professional soccer at least had arrived in Charlotte, maybe on that international level.
yeah,
But it's just amazing to see the whole thing take shape, and it happens so fast.
yeah.
In terms of your journey, and of course, obviously, you're back home and everything. Do you see yourself in some ways, maybe if not the face of the franchise, because you are local? People do know you, and they've known of you for a while. So even though you were in Kansas City, it was like, well, he's still a Charlotte guy. And so when you come back to Charlotte, there are, Brant Bronico obviously played at UNC Charlotte. And so he's a de facto Charlottean. But you grew up here. Do you see yourself as kind of like that face of the franchise where you can go in places in Charlotte and people will recognize you for what you've done so far?
I don't believe I'm there yet. I definitely want to be because obviously this is, the town I grew up in. I want to give everything back, especially to those kids. Obviously just to kind of show them that, a Charlottean can do it and give them opportunity and show them I want to be a role model for them to say, hey, I want to be like Jay Lindsey one day and play on Charlotte FC, and kind of just give them that hope and opportunity for them. Obviously, me being here, being me being a local, I do have a lot of I guess attention throughout the city with people obviously knowing me from being around, and I have old families and friends that are still in Charlotte that I see every once in a while that they know of me and they kind of spread the word and stuff like that. So, obviously, I do. It would be very nice to kind of be the face of the franchise. Uh, don't believe I'm just exactly there yet, but hopefully one day I can kind of be the general face and just kind of give back to all those kids and give them that hope.
Well, because when you stop and think about it, the other professional franchises here, they've had Charlotteans or they have Charlotteans who are with them, whether it was the Panthers or the Hornets, and there's you. So it doesn't happen every day because these top tier leagues and teams, they're not all over America. They are, there's only been so many markets that you can go into and get a professional team. So, do you see that? Because you seem to be such, you're a community oriented type of person. You care about Charlotte. You obviously have a soft spot for the place. Is that something where you take it upon yourself as an individual to be representative, not only of Charlotte, but of Charlotte FC?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's always the main goal. Like wherever I'm at, club wise or wherever I'm at in life, like obviously I want to give my 100% all into it. And you brought up the community part, and like I said before, like just me being in Charlotte, like I'm just so blessed that they were able to bring a team here, and obviously that I wanted when I was younger for sure, but it wasn't the right time for it yet. And obviously when the time came, and I do believe that God led me in the right direction to come back here and play for my hometown team, and um, and obviously I want to give back to the city of Charlotte for bringing this team and kind of bringing me um, this kind of recognition for myself to be the Charlottean guy that is on Charlotte FC and represent the team in the city as well. And obviously, I want to rep it in the best way possible and show people that um, Charlotte FC is a tough team to come play. So I kind of want to be the representation of when people think of Charlotte FC. I want them to think of Jaylin Lindsey as well. So
Yeah. And you have obviously the experience now, you a playoff team, even though last year plenty of bumps in the road, but you managed to get into the postseason. Talk a little bit about that experience and whether that translates for an entire team or for you personally as well going into this season. And what can you take from those lessons into 2024?
yeah, I mean, like you said, we had our ups and downs last year, and the fact that we were right at the edge of officially making the playoffs. Obviously brings obviously hope for our team, and like I said, we've had a great preseason so far. We've learned a lot from this past season. Um, just about adapting to style of plays. Um, having that resilience, and I think we have like this year. I think we have a really good group. I think probably honestly better than we did last year. Obviously I'm excited. I think for sure this season, I think we're definitely above that playoff line for sure, and having a playoff spot within this next year coming up.
Okay, so now you have to be careful when you say stuff like that. You expect to make the playoffs, right?
We'll make the playoffs. We will. We will.
All right. Well, I know sometimes folks want to try to dial that back once it's cast.
Yeah, I know. I know. Trust me, but we have a really good team this year. I really do believe that we have something special. So
Okay, so this team is capable.
yeah, I believe so.
Okay. All right. Well, I do appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today, Jaylin. Much success with you, and it's always good to see the home folks repping, and best of success. And we'll see you once the season gets underway.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.